AskReddit by Mork McJorma. Are you still using cash? Why? Taco trucks around me are cash only. Edit. Should have said street vendors in general actually. Just bought a minuter and paid cash. Literally came here to say cause I own a taco truck. Edit. I also take cards and Venmo, but most people pay cash, so that's what I have when I spend it. I just answered the question. Don't worry, I pay taxes and my tacos are easily accessible. I use cash at a farmer's market's flea markets because most of the stands don't have card readers. Kind of similar for vendor halls at conventions art shows. Plus if you use card they have to add tax, but cash is king and the $20 tag means $20 cash. Because the kid who mows my lawn doesn't have Venmo. The kid who comes to my door selling tamales does. Yum. When I see I'm losing money it make me spend less money SMH. Deleted. I use cash for transactions I'd rather there not be a financial paper trail for. Like the second burger at a McDonald's and that kind of thing. I find it easier to control my spending if I use cash. This has been proven in studies before. That people spend more when they don't physically see the money leave their hands and decrease in value. Informal transactions. Everybody takes cash. Dunno if it's still true, but there were a couple of small restaurants in town recently that wouldn't take cards. They would take a local check. And there was an ATM in the corner. They were small enough that they didn't want to take the hit on credit card merchant fees. And local enough that people accepted it. There's a place in DFW, one of the more popular restaurants, that is cash only. They've operated like that for 80 plus years of being open, and have always kept doing it. It is one of the largest places I've ever seen in terms of a restaurant. Have an ATM inside, as well as option for check. You can't snort lines of Adderall through a Dogecoin. Well, if that ain't the shiniest new sentence I have ever heard. I use cash occasionally. Kids come to the door to shovel the walk, for example. My very rare purchase of lottery tickets. Tiny purchases, pack of gum, etc. When I buy lottery tickets I can't use my credit card at all. I don't carry a debit card. Drugs and garage sales. You know how to party. Cash doesn't allow me to go negative in my account. I still use cash because I feel like I am more mindful with my spending using cash versus using a debit credit card. Yes, I have a horrible shopping addiction. In my financial class my teacher said when you spend cash rather than card it's harder and actually said soft pain receptors in your brain help so far. I don't get a prompt to tip when I pay cash. TBH, this is the most attractive reason to use cash in this thread. How would I pay an escort with a credit card? Or a stripper? Because the government be all up in my business. For all debts private and public : In Germany 80% of transactions are still done in cash. Cafes looked at me weird for having my card. Moving to Germany got me to finally carry cash. Then I moved to the Netherlands, where it's all card. Many places don't even accept cash. Here in the USA I carry small bills for cash tips at cafes, restaurants and shopping at farmers markets. I appreciated the €1 and €2 coins, wish we had that in the States. Edit. Yes, I know there are USD coins and $2 bills but they are not widely used, is the point. Everyone should have some emergency cash. Nobody in Russia thought their bank accounts would be locked out of SWIFT, but it happened. I'm always shocked by how many people don't have any cash available at their home or on their person. My parents always taught us to have emergency cash, but they are also refugees, so that could be a big part of it. tornado hit and everyone has trees on their houses and blocking their driveways. Guys with chainsaws show up, one stroke to the neighborhood only has credit cards, when the lines get fixed, or promise of insurance reimbursement. I have cash. Guess who gets help first? Never tamper with the emergency post-tornado chainsaw guys fund. What are you, a cop? You gotta say you are if I ask. Yes. Harder to track and always available. Never need to worry about systems being down or power outages. Not to mention any small businesses are hurt by the fees of processing credit and debit cards. Like the recent Canada-wide cell phone outage that took down the debit card system with it. Watching people lose it when they didn't have $2 to cover their coffee was an interesting experience. Untraceable purchases, which sounds stupid but my tinfoil hat and I do not care. Yep. Don't want to be part of the panopticon, even if my purchases are inoffensive. So I can keep a secret stash in case of emergencies. Just to buy weed. And whores. Deleted. Gulf Coast resident checking in. When Hurricane Ike fucked up my entire region for 3 weeks, it was pretty nice to have a coffee can of cash to dip into and buy a hot meal, gasoline, fresh water, etc. Credit card processors go down. Some services only accept cash. Throwing actual cash at some problems makes them disappear quicker. Less susceptible to getting information skimmed in sketchy or unsecure locations. There are some transactions I don't want trails of. True that. What's particularly annoying is that, on the flip side, certain sellers are only accept card. Especially since COVID. The IRS and AMP. Easier to pay for people in exact amounts. Whether that's tipping someone at a restaurant who can choose to report that income as they see fit, and also when I buy something from a sketchy place that I don't want to have my credit card info at. I hate dealing with double charges and leaked information. Also, there's nothing worse when you're at a restaurant and you're waiting 1,000 years for your card to be returned with your bill. Because I don't want my wife to see that I stopped and got 3 soft tacos on my way home from work. I'm in a better place now, but in my bad times I used cash as much as a good, for the simple reason that a 20 in your wallet will be there until you spend it, while a 20 in your bank account is there until an overdraft fee or automatic payment or whatever you forgot about hits. In the worst of the worst times, I always took out enough cash on payday to buy gas and food for the next 2 weeks. Overdraft fees and auto pays are the main reason I pay bills online manually. Takes longer, but I have control over when I pay the bills instead of a faceless entity yoinking money whenever it's convenient for them. Untraceable. Yes, because I don't like the idea of the government or banks being capable of cutting me off entirely for any reason whatsoever. To me, the suggestion of a completely cashless society just seems like another ploy to give the banks and the government more control over our lives. What I haven't seen mentioned yet is that some people with mental disabilities, some of the elderly and the poor, need to use cash for money management. We need to keep it going for these people at the very least. Also, I lost my bank card last week. Couldn't eat at work due to cash-only places nearby. Cash keeps money in the community. Every time a card I use, there is a fee, and it could be on the buyer or seller's end. Those fees go to big corporations. Some places around here charge less if you use cash. Also, it seems like many smaller shops only accept cash. I know quite a few small business owners that definitely prefer cash. They will accept cards but have to pay a small percentage of each of those transactions. They could pass it on to the customer but prefer not to. Therefore, I try to use cash if I can in those situations specifically. Because I want to. Yes, for my hairdresser mostly, and on the markets, helps them earn an extra buck. Yes. It is anonymous. Works when there's no network connection to my bank. Also, I have so far never seen a fee or extra charge for using cash. When in other countries there may be a conversion fee for each and every transaction. Some payment systems charge extra if I use a card that is not part of their network. Some of my favorite restaurants only take cash. Heck, my favorite pizza place only take cash. Why are anyone asking why I still use cash? A lot of companies are charging a processing fee and cash is the cheaper option. In my area gas is about $0.10 cheaper per gallon if you pay in cash. Easier to monitor and control spending. I only use ysis to pay certain bills and pay the balance off monthly. Because I have it. Also because WTF should a third party need to be involved and paid for on every single transaction? Seriously, I am sick of everything being more expensive so I can use a card. It's like a tax but for private profit. There's a trend starting in restaurants in my area where they'll give you a discounted total if you pay with cash. It eases the irritation I feel about everything being more expensive because the middleman takes his cut on credit payments. I will always use cash. People here giving all sorts of excuses, like it has to be defended. I don't have an excuse, just a reason. I fucking love cash. Not to be a conspiracy guy or anything, I normally use my card for literally everything, but the creeping scope and increasing number of businesses that make it difficult or at least inconvenient to use cash should be a cause for watchfulness, shall we say. I have no need to hide any of my purchases from anyone, but a totally cashless society will give enormous power to corporations and the government over our lives. And not just for privacy reasons either. Your money doesn't really belong to you if they can just turn it off with a flick of a switch. Drug dealers don't take cards. Nice try, government. I'm in Argentina and cash goes 2.5x as far as credit. The situation down here is deeply chaotic. Cash is definitely the preferred medium of exchange. I wish the banks and government here were more trustworthy. For small businesses and places like the farmers market, I always use cash. Some of the transaction fees these people are stuck with can really hurt their profits. Big corporations, I don't care if they lose a bit of money, they figure that into the prices already. Also, cash can make things easier in many strange situations. Tipping the doorman to get in the club. Making a cash offer at some places will sometimes get a better price. Last week my upstairs neighbor filled both recycling bins with trash and the truck wouldn't take them. I gave $10 to the trashman and he came by and emptied them. I've also had to bail friends out of jail, and they do not take credit or checks. CREAM, that's why. Tappy tappy card y'all just doesn't sound as cool. Because I don't like to depend on one piece of plastic phone. Only if I lose the card and or my phone on the street at least I have money in my pockets. I spend less when I use cash. It's about 50/50. I like cash, that's why. The weed store doesn't take cards.